Andy.
He's special.
Right there. Oh, there he is.
He's special. He's a special one.
Mics are on.
Are we on?
Yep, we're on.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Bateman?
Here.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Mr. Butler?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Here.
Mr. Ping?
Here.
Welcome, everyone. With us tonight, we have our Director of Finance, Mark Medler, our Assistant City Manager, Corey Wright, Clerk of Council, Misty Brent, City Manager, Dave Kennedy, City Solicitor, Joe Braun, Safety Director, Sue Madsen. We have our Lieutenant in the back, Scott Humphrey. Welcome. Also, let's see, former council members, Pam Gross, Todd Osborne, and Deputy Chief Mike Brooks is here. I don't think I missed anyone. So welcome, everyone. First on the list, on the agenda is Arbor Day Proclamation. Liz Jones, will you join me at the podium?
You have words?
Yes.
Words just to announce what's
Perfect.
coming up.
All right. I will do the proclamation first. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Kathy Bailey, by the power vested in me as mayor and on behalf of the City of Loveland, Loveland City Council, and the Loveland Tree and Environment Committee, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022, Arbor Day in the City of Loveland, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Now, furthermore, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
We are happy to be a part of all of that. We love our trees. So we have a few things coming up on April 29th. We will have QR codes, a guided walk through along Simpsons Trail at Phillips Park, and it starts Friday, April 29th, and it goes through Sunday, May 1st. Just take your camera, snap a picture, and you'll get to learn about all the trees and the wildlife that's out there. Also, on April 30th, the annual litter pickup at Nisbet Park will be occurring in front of the Little Miami Conservancy. They are picking up trash from 9 to noon. There will also be a hot dog for anyone who participates. That's all I have.
And Liz Jones is a member of our Tree and Environment Committee. So thank you very much, Liz. Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey and City Council, for allowing me to speak tonight. Could I have a representative from the following organizations step up here, please? The Loveland Stage Company, the Loveland Interfaith or Life Pantry, Nutrition, Education, Safety, Transformation, or NEST. Join me at the podium.
Okay.
If you did it. All three of these organizations provide an invaluable service to our community. Life Pantry provides food and support for those less fortunate in our community. NEST's mission is to address academic and non-academic barriers that perpetuate the cycle of generational poverty in suburban communities. And Loveland Stage Company has been providing quality entertainment for many years. All three of these organizations have been affected by the continuation of the coronavirus pandemic. As such, the Loveland Community Firefighters Association would like to donate a check to all three of these organizations to help them through this rough patch. So once the coronavirus pandemic is over, they can continue their great support, education, and entertainment to this community of which we have become accustomed. So, life.
It's me.
That's you.
Well, the four of you represent four of, I think, the finest institutions that we have in this city. So thank you all for being here. And you don't have to stay, by the way, for this long meeting, but that is your choice. Thank you very much. All right, open forum. First, we have Patty Sandmare.
Okay, Patty Sandmare, 102 Carl Brown Way. Council, I'd like to take the time to thank Mr. Blair for meeting with a group of residents in reference to the solar panels being installed on the soon-to-be-built public utilities building. Although much has been discussed about larger and more controversial topics, the lesser-known topics are equally important to us residents. Mr. Blair filled us in on the benefits of the solar energy that will save up to 85% of costs to run the building. With questions being answered energetically, I personally learned many facts about the benefits of solar energy, such as the weight of the panels, the cost, which is much more reasonable than I expected. Even on cloudy days, the panels pull energy. That is a wow factor. This put my mind working toward where else can these solar panels go to utilize energy and put our city on the grid. Where else could these panels be installed? Well, if the garage is deemed beneficial to our downtown needs, what an awesome idea to utilize the space for more panels. This might provide even 100% energy to run the garage and allow residents to accept that the garage will have dual purpose. Another wow factor that would allow the garage to be beneficial toward future energy efficiency. Why would any resident be against this idea? I would hope not. Offering incentives for future buildings, as well as the current buildings, both commercial and residential, would also have the opportunity to utilize solar power. I see this as another compromise to the future of the Grail property. Maybe even getting our schools involved for some educational value. Can we even imagine the energy savings for our schools? Phoenix seems to be one of the largest cities to benefit the grid. Why not a smaller city like Loveland? I would like to think another aspect of this project would include city administration, planning and zoning, finance, tree and environment, as well as law and ordinance committees working in unison to expand more solar power within our community. Wow, this is cooperative measures worth fighting for. I definitely see this as an opportunity to bring positive vibes to negative issues. So, I would like to thank Mr. Blair, as well as the Community Heartbeat, for sponsoring this well-organized and educational happy hour. It would be great if all council members would address other lesser-known issues which are equally important to our city. Citizens will look forward to the next happy hour with another council member with another positive topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Enda.
Good evening. Lauren Enda, 5073 Bristol Court. Tonight I will address the unknown return on investment and the possibility of Native American remains on the site of the proposed garage. According to Loveland's finance director, council has already spent almost $980,000 for purchase, demolition, and design of the multi-million-dollar garage. Even if all the grants that Loveland has applied for come through, Loveland taxpayers will still be responsible for at least $2 million before any cost overruns are added in. There have been comments from some on council that COVID money might be used. COVID money should be used for projects that will benefit Loveland citizens, not just a few downtown businesses. Loveland has a looming water infrastructure repair bill, and the COVID money would be better spent to address this problem instead of raising Loveland's water rates, something that has already been discussed. While the garage may feather the nest of downtown businesses, will the garage actually benefit Loveland residents? Some might say that increased revenue from downtown businesses due to the garage will grow Loveland's coffers. However, when city staff is asked about how much revenue comes from downtown businesses, they are unable to provide answers. What they do say is that there are numerous downtown businesses who have CRAs or tax abatements, meaning they are paying a reduced tax bill to Loveland. These businesses include Rhodey, the Landing Event Center, Tahona, Ramsey's Trailside, Bishop's Quarters, and Tano Bistro. These property tax abatements last for at least 4 years and up to 12 years. So Loveland is reducing our potential property tax income through abatement. Now to the theory that possible increased income tax due to the garage construction will help Loveland financially. Any individual working in Loveland pays the city 1% of their salary in income tax. Let's assume that all employees in downtown area make $1 million combined for the year. Loveland would receive 1% of that income, or just $10,000 a year. That amount would not even pay for the upkeep of the garage for that year. Any council member who values fiscal responsibility and who has vowed to protect Loveland's financial resources must analyze whether the proposed garage is a wise return on investment for the citizens, and then share those findings with residents. The second topic for tonight deals with the possibility of Native American remains on the site of the proposed garage. In a report commissioned by Hamilton County in 2019, a historical preservation consultant stated, quote, "There is some potential for archaeological resources on the property based on an 1848 plat of Loveland, which identifies it as being the location of a mound. Consultation with the State Historic Preservation Office regarding the need for an archaeological survey is recommended prior to new construction." Once we learned of this report, we shared it immediately with Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Bateman. We have also been in communication with the Ohio History Connection, who encouraged us to, quote, "advocate that the city hire an archaeologist to do a survey of the area to confirm if there is indeed a mound or not at that location," end quote. Residents of Loveland, along with the Sierra Club, Citizens for the Rights of the Ohio Watershed, the University of Cincinnati's student organization Leaders for Environmental Awareness and Protection, and the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition, whom we will hear from tonight, are all in agreement. We will all advocate for an archaeological survey to be done and for a community approval for the garage via a referendum. We request that the council commission a study immediately. We are passionate about protecting Loveland and the land itself. We are passionate not because we are uninformed, as some have stated, but because we are incredibly informed. We, as individuals and as organizations, will continue to be involved and engaged in Loveland's political life because we see this as our right and as our duty. We will continue to advocate for increased transparency and use of data-driven decisions by Loveland staff and City Council. We will advocate without using intimidation, without name-calling others, and without misquoting others. We will remain professional and respectful, using research and facts as the basis of our advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Scovanner?
Good evening, Tom Scovanner, 155 Overlook Drive. I was asked, a letter was received from the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition late this afternoon, early this evening, and I was asked to make this a part of the record. I believe you have it electronically, and I did make one tiny change for clarification. But this is a letter from Jerry Neri, the Executive Director of the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition. To whom it may concern, the desecration of indigenous and Native American religious, spiritual, and burial mounds is an egregious part of Ohio's history and is part of the ongoing 500 years of genocidal policies to erase our history and perpetuate the false narrative of the pristine myth, which refers to America's founding mythology of settling a pristine wilderness, providing a convenient justification for the occupation of the North American continent. The Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition encourages the City of Loveland and its leadership to commission a new survey based upon the recommendation of that cited the evidence of a Native American mound in 1849 on the site of the parking garage. We are in contact with other national Native organizations and are sending a summary of how Loveland proceeds with this matter to the National Congress of the American Indians in Washington, D.C. We are hopeful that the City of Loveland and those elected officials will do the right thing and work towards protecting not just the religious rights of mainstream Ohio, but of all people in Ohio. Regards, Jerry Neri, Executive Director, Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition.
Next is review and approval of minutes from the April 12th, 2022 meeting. Are there any additions, changes to those minutes? We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Kennedy?
I put a resolution on there for the improvement of the community entertainment district. We've done the public hearing. We've submitted the application. We've got the 75 days. Go review the legislation. I sent the legislation to Division of Liquor Control, and there's one error on the legislation. Second bullet point should say in conformance with the community entertainment district. The city was incorporated prior to 1880. That second zero should be an 8. That's in compliance with the community entertainment codes per the Ohio Revised Code.
All right, so we need a motion to amend the resolution.
I think it's a Scribner's error.
It's the Scribner's error?
And it's not being voted on twice. So.
Even better. All right, any comments, questions regarding this resolution? Yes, Mr. Butler?
Yes, just since the entertainment district basically envelops the Loveland Elementary School, I did reach out to the president of the Loveland Board of Education to see if she had any concerns about the legislation. And she noted that, the board is not necessarily opposing or supporting the issue of creating the entertainment district, as they haven't voted on that one way or the other. But she did ask whether there's any procedure or process in place for applications for liquor licenses, because that's the primary, motivator of the entertainment district within a certain distance of the school. And I didn't know the answer to that. Dave, is there any process for that? Like if within X feet of the Loveland Elementary, that if there's a liquor license application, are the schools notified? Do they have any?
I believe the school is notified that this is no different than any liquor license. It's just a D7 is a D7. It would just be a D7J because it's in that district. So the city gets notified whenever there's a liquor license within so many feet of a city park. I'm not 100% sure, as I've never been involved in schools, but would they be notified? So today, if you bought the laundromat and turned the laundromat into a restaurant, you can get a liquor license without the community entertainment district by trexing it in. The whole purpose of it is simply to save money. So that's a good question. I don't know exactly what the school, whether or not they get notified. I just know that whenever there's a liquor license issued in the downtown district, it inevitably falls within so many feet of Nisbet Park. So they come to the city, and it basically just says, do you want to petition against it? So the question is, and it's not dictated in the Ohio Revised Code, mostly because I've never really had to look at from a school standpoint. I can certainly find out.
I'd appreciate
John,
that.
let you know, and if you would forward it on to the school board,
I will.
Again, if McDonald's sold beer tomorrow, McDonald's could get a liquor license. They would just pay $30,000 to $40,000 for it.
Right.
The downtown district, where there is not a community entertainment district, Hops and Berries, for example. Hops and Berries just got a liquor license, and they trexed it in. So that means they probably paid in the $30,000 to $35,000 range. We don't have a community entertainment district in the downtown district. We can't have a community entertainment in the downtown district because one of the requirements is that there is an active CED within that county. So we are using the one in Sharonville. If Union Township, meaning they were the population and they had a community entertainment, they would then set the basis for one in Claremont. So, but that's a great question. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, if we could find out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's easy to find out.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Read the resolution, please.
Resolution approving the creation of a community entertainment district in the city of Loveland pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 4301.80.
Any comment on the resolution? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Resolution 37 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Mr. Kennedy?
I know everyone knows about the gazebo that the city. This is the first phase of the comprehensive plan that we did for Nisbet Park, which received quite a bit of public input. So we have been. I think staff did a really good job all winter long. I'm more of an impatient, like to move forward with him, and we use KZF to make sure that where we place the gazebo meets the future plans of Nisbet Park. We didn't sit there and go through a book and pick landscaping. We hired and secured a local landscape architect. We utilized Choice One to do some survey work, so we knew exactly the lay of the land, the high points, the low points, and at the end of the day, this project, which is $85,000 of it's coming from a grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, is ready to go. That what's in front of you tonight is just for the manufacture and the installation of gazebo. The concrete pad. Part of the desire on this was that it would be elevated. That's going to be a separate contract, but it will not exceed my spending limit. So I do not believe that it'll be coming back to the city. So from first off, we're very close in location to where the existing gazebo was. The next time in Nisbet Park, the Nisbet Park sign will be moved, and there's no trees coming down. It's basically right in this area here. I just thought I'd move these up here because not everyone has and then the location of it. One of the things that I think the park board, I know they liked it, and I know that we heard this from the public, was that why does the gazebo and everything have to always face the bike trail? So this gazebo, if you look at the items along the back, the back sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the octagon, those are all steps that encircle 5 of the 8 locations. The handicap access comes directly off the bike trail. So it really truly does open up to the meat. It faces the river. So it really does open up to the meat of the park, which is something that was what we heard from the residents during our open houses on the gazebo. The gazebo design is open railing. That is it's a cleaner look. I'm not trying to pick on, but it ends up being a seating area and ends up being a maintenance area. We also opted for the upgrade in the higher end columns. So this sort of gives you a rough idea of the look, though it's obviously elevated. We also opted, because this was part of what came out of the report during the meeting with the public, is that they liked that wooded look. So the entire interior of it is wood, and actually up in that most top part will be the top part of the cupola will be. And then one of the biggest things we wanted to do was we wanted it to not look like every gazebo you see with a green roof, and so this is the colors that we chose, which is white and gray, and the very top part of that will have internal lighting that'll come on at dawn to dusk, so it will be quite a signature. I do want to emphasize that if you probably need to take the old gazebo and get it completely out of your mind, because this one is 25 feet in diameter, and I've pasted off multiple times. Went to Nisbet Park with tape measures. It is a significantly, but meets exactly the dimensions of the plan. It will be a wonderful place for weddings, concerts, HOA meetings, you name it. And we're going to have electricity mounted in the columns, but not really noticeable. So I really do think that if the goal was to build a signature item that looks very unique, that gets people excited about other elements, I will tell you that the city has already submitted for funding for the seating area that is all in the area between the gazebo and the restroom. This entire area, this undulating serpentine wall of concrete, Stamp Creek concrete with high-end furnishings. The city submitted for funding through that, and initially it appears that looks to be in a pretty good situation to be funded. So the gazebo, where it's going, fits where the next phase is going to go, where the next phase will go, where phases long after I'm gone will go. That'll all just continue. So we really have been patient. So the reason I'm bringing this to you tonight is I was asked to take it to the Parks and Rec Board, and I did, and they were there through the whole Nisbet Park thing, so they know it meets what the public wanted. They were very happy to see it face the way it was. They were very happy it doesn't have a green roof. But one of the reasons I wanted to get this in front of you as quick as possible, because we're still looking at September, so every council meeting I wait is longer. But we're done with the gazebo part. We're just finalizing some bids for concrete, and we're working with Trevor Electric for the conduit and the electricity. You have to remember that we can only really work on projects that are on the east side of where imaginary Carl Brown would go through the middle of Nisbet Park. So if you think you're walking down Nisbet Park, you're walking down Carl Brown Way past the Eagles, and you're just walking straight, that someday will look like Godzilla came through, because all those storm pipes have to be replaced as part of the Harrison Street widening. So we're working on everything from there over. Corey, you got some quotes for the living wall on the restroom. So this is a part of it. So we're at our total funding is in the 2022 budget. The city had $85,000 in grant and $30,000 for a local match, for a total project cost of $115,000. This is all in manufacturing, installation, all the extras that we added onto it, the columns, the inlaid wood, and we're at $115,483.50. And if the council approves the legislation, it will be ordered tomorrow, and that will begin the process, which is 26 weeks from now. So while we were patient, we need to get moving. So I think we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. We're ready to go. This is through Sourcewell. The city's a member of Sourcewell. Back in the old days, there used to be the Ohio Administrative program ran by the Ohio Department of Transportation, which did biddings for local townships and local cities, and everyone benefited. We got police cars and body cameras and everything, much less. It was a great savings to our residents because they're bidding on a statewide. Well, that has blossomed into other programs called Sourcewell, which does primarily park bidding, and we are a member. We pay a nominal fee to be a member of Sourcewell. So that allowed this particular contractor, Playground Equipment Services, who is the bidder for Sourcewell, to be a part of the entire design process. So I really do think this is going to be something that is I think that residents are really going to appreciate this, because it is This isn't the wooden, mossy thing that was stinging kids all last summer. That when Public Works took it down, it took 5 minutes to knock it over. This is a really high-end quality, and I'm not trying to call out Chief Huber, but he kept sending me photos as he traveled. Don't give us a green gazebo. So this white and gray roof is something that he really pushed for, and it's really going to stand out. And if you look at the master plan, this is what they asked for. If you remember the Nisbet Park master plan, it was black, and no one liked it, and this was what they wanted to go with. So at this point, I really don't have anything else. Just think it's going to be a great project for everybody.
Mr. Blair.
Just a couple questions, Mr. Kennedy. The goal is to have it up and ready to go in September.
Yeah.
And the second question is, you talked about having it lit from dawn to dusk. Will there be capability to have it lit at night for various functions?
Yeah, it'll have a fuse. Yeah, you mean for all the other lighting? Yeah, I never really thought of that. I like lighting, and yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't have an answer, but we're working with Trevor on that.
Okay, just so you can light it at night.
Yeah, beyond the beyond what's going to be up.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Hart.
In the spirit of our Arbor Day Proclamation here at the beginning, I just want to highlight Mr. Kennedy's note in here that no trees will be removed to accommodate the gazebo, and we talked about a living wall on the restroom. So it seems like the things we're doing in Nisbet are to accentuate the greenery we have down there and continue to grow the amount of green space that we have down there, not remove any of it.
Any other comments, Mr. Butler?
Mr. Kennedy, when you said that it'll be 26 weeks from, like, if you contact them tomorrow, does it take that long to assemble the materials and produce the materials for the gazebo?
Yeah, the lead time for everything to be manufactured and shipped and ready to go is 26 weeks. So in a best case scenario, 26 weeks from tomorrow, they're in here manufacturing it on a concrete pad that's long been put in place.
Right.
Probably going to be keep off. I don't know if it's keep off, whatever. But and everything will be set and ready to go. We have that entire summer to get that in place, and then it's done. Putting it together isn't going to be, the manufacturing is. I had to get a whole new, remember when we approved the thing out front here? I had to get a whole nother contractor because remember that was funded for some extra grant money we had, this thing we're doing out front. It was going to take so long to get the tables and chairs. I just literally called every chair company I could find until I found someone who could get them before the county pulled the grant money. So,
when the materials arrive, will they be constructed by Public Works, or would that be another contractor?
You're paying for that tonight.
Oh, okay. That's included in the...
It's all in.
Okay.
All they want is a pad and some conduit sticking out of it. That's probably why we'll have some kind of safety issues, because there will be conduit sticking through it.
Until the materials arrive.
Yeah, and we're using Stephen Smith as our landscape architect.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Bateman.
Thank you for the explanation, Dave. I can tell you're excited about this project, and I'm excited too. I think I really like the sort of like Music Man kind of River City vibe that the gazebo has. I also really appreciate your talking about how it's part of a longer term plan. I would imagine that residents are going to, considering the length of time and the duration that this will take, it's going to seem like a really long period of time, and that will only be followed by. It might seem like we're piecemealing some retro of Nisbet Park, but I know that that's just part of the funding mechanism as well as part of the overall Nisbet Park master plan. So I appreciate that, as well as the seems like a lot of value for the $30,000 that we're putting forward with that, for sure.
If I can add, not to mention the amount of consulting time we got on behalf of the contractor, and just to add, we're never not moving ahead. Corey's already met with. We've realized that the amphitheater, which won't be able to happen until the Harrison project is done, the amphitheater is probably going to need some private financing. Well, we're not really good at knocking on doors and saying, hey, how about 100? There's people that do this, the Blue Ashes and the Masons and the Montgomerys and the Madeiras of the world. When they have projects that they may have some kind of signature name, the whatever, I'm not going to say somebody's name because it'll sound stupid, but you know what I mean. They reach out to private companies who help them put together funding scenarios. So Corey's already met with a firm that's what they do. We're not even done the Harrison because we're trying to get in line for that amphitheater is going to be a signature project that will mirror these colors, that will mirror all of this. But we're not going to be able to fund that through it screams for a naming. The XYZ amphitheater, the XYZ stage, we would never think that. We'd ask for too little, we'd ask for this, and a wall, and to do it right, it really helps benefit. And then you go for some funding, but then when you're applying for money that you say, guess what, it has public funding because the city's going to put money in, but we've also got private funding, and they love that when you bring more legs into the stool. So having such and such name, who they don't see that as a bad thing. It's not a cramp on the history of the city. It's tastefully done, and it makes your grant writing even more powerful. Oh, look at that! They're putting their own money in. They've reached out to the private sector, and now that's how it works. So Corey's already meeting with those firms. We think we found one that we really like. So.
Just one more question, or really more of a point, because one of the things when I was looking at the design, and you mentioned this in your setup, but when I think about a gazebo, there's also seating, but this one looks like it's more open floor plan, no seating. Are there going to be any railings or anything like that, just from like an ergonomic? And if there are people are sort of, I don't know what the right word is, meandering inside the gazebo. You mentioned there will be seating outside, so. I'm just trying to think of, we've done a really good job lately with some upgrades in seating along the Nisbet Park and the bike trail, and you see it in use a lot. So that was a little bit surprising. You mentioned it was a maintenance issue. I think it doesn't hurt the design the way it is, certainly. But
yeah, I never thought of seating or anything inside of it. You could have some, I don't really know, because it wouldn't change what you're doing tonight, but it's certainly... Yeah, it's certainly.
I'm just picturing people like sitting up on even if there is no seating, leaning up on the poles, so somewhat wanting to, when there's not an activity, is the gazebo just going to be this big blank space that folks might walk around or check out? But what's the point of interest?
Well, I know that we know 18 inches was as high as we could go and meet code for the railings. For every inch of rise, you needed X number of feet of rise with the handicap ramp. So at one point I had it so elevated that the handicap ramp was going around from almost noon to 7 p.m. And well, not that way. It was really more like 7 to 2. And then, so 18 inches got us to a straight shot from the bike trail, and we positioned it accordingly. So I don't know. I guess that's a good question for the park board, since they've been all in throughout this entire process.
And like you'd mentioned, and as I was saying, I think that issue with seating around it too, if as you mentioned, that could also solve that issue, I guess, in terms of people wanting to just rest. But anyway, I applaud the effort all around. I think it's a great addition to and an upgrade considering the previous one.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes, Vice Mayor.
I just would give a shout out or commend the process that we've been following to get to this point in terms of the master plan for the park and then the work of the Parks and Recreation Committee in conjunction with the chief and the city. This is exciting, and again, I think we need to thank all those that have been involved in getting us to this point, and I think we're going to love it when it's done. So looking forward to seeing it.
Anyone else? I think a special shout out to Mr. Kennedy. And Mr. Kennedy, I think you mentioned that Chief Huber and Cindy Klopfenstein and Lynn Zook of KZF were really, you four were kind of the team that brought this all together. So, well done. You can go ahead and read the resolution.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Playground Equipment Services, LLC, for the purchase and installation of a new gazebo at Nesbitt Park.
Any comment on the resolution? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Resolution 38 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Mr. Kennedy?
I need to request council to table the legislation regarding services to be provided.
Okay. Can we have a motion to that effect?
I'll move we table the resolution services to be provided.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, Mr. Kennedy.
For the body cameras, which included some funding for a police, what we're calling a police records clerk. That's since you've met, that's the position that we're coming up with. That would be a classified position that we will begin through the civil service. Actually, we'll probably start getting the civil service together since you'll have first reading on it. And what we typically try to do whenever we can during these times. So if you look at the exhibit to the ordinance, first of all, we always repeal the most recent time that you touched this, which I believe the most recent time you touched this was you created the police captain's position. So, what we try to do is we also use this to just clean up some things. So along with the creation of the police records clerk position, which is classified, which means it'll go through civil service, which we really want to get moving on. We just want to, there's no financial repercussions whatsoever. The building and zoning clerk title, we want to change that to permit specialist. This is just sort of what we do, what Corey and I do, and what we do during the course of the day is, that's when you do something like this, it's not so much what that particular person who is doing the job has created, because she does an exceptional job and has taken on a lot more. It just, this better defines the job. It also better defines the job when you're trying to fill it in the future. There's no financial changes. Permit specialist. So this would just be a first reading, amending the city's schedule of municipal positions. But I will say that I'm going to go ahead and begin to get the Civil Service Commission together, and we'll start the process because we have two very important positions to fill, not only the police records clerk, but unfortunately, as you might have read in my weekly, Dawn Everett is retiring at the end of June. Nothing personally, Misty, but probably the nicest person that's ever walked foot in this building. And she is going to be sorely, sorely missed. She is a gem for anyone who's ever walked in this building and had any questions about your income tax. That's Dawn back there, and she's worked really hard. If you want to read my weekly, they're pretty boring, but there's a really good thing in there about her. But we need to get that moving. So, and Tom knows what that means. So we have to get the test going, and we need to get in the process. But one of many plugs for Dawn that are coming. She's a great lady.
All right. Any questions, Mr. Butler?
The building and zoning clerk, is that the position currently held by Becky?
Yeah.
Okay. And you want to just change her title to permit specialist?
Yes.
Okay.
Any comments, questions? Go ahead and read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance establishing the compensation and classification for the part-time position of police records clerk, modifying the title of the building and zoning clerk, and repealing ordinance 2022-2.
Thank you. Mr. Medlin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. For you this evening is the first quarter financial report for 2022. The report reflects revenues exceeding expenditures in the general fund, with income tax revenue up approximately 10% over the same period in 2021. Property tax revenues are reflecting a large increase, but this is due to some 2021 property tax revenue not being received until April of that year. So just a timing issue. Since this report just reflects January, February, March, we can cheat and look ahead to April as we have received some already this month. If we include April data, we're just about where we were last year with a little bit of an increase over last year. Homestead and rollback revenue is essentially flat at not quite $60,000. General fund expenditures were up when compared to 2021. The largest driver of that was an advance related to the purchase of property that was approved earlier this year. Revenues in the city's enterprise funds as a whole modestly ahead of 2021's pace and will continue to be monitored closely. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments? Mr. Butler?
The income tax revenues are coming in well so far in the first quarter, but as we know, as a matter of public record, Workhorse is leaving the Commerce Park. These revenue collections don't reflect; they're still here until like this quarter, right?
Right. I'm not sure exactly when they're heading out. We did try to take that into account when we were putting the budget. As you recall, in last year we received about $5.8 million. Our estimate this year, we wanted to be a little more conservative. We estimated about 5.5, just to kind of put that under control.
Okay, and efforts are being made to try to replace or bring new business into that commerce center.
I would imagine.
Yeah, we actually attempted to schedule a meeting with them. They are actively seeking themselves. I was trying to find an email from the guy from Workhorse. These don't search backwards. I'll forward you guys the update on that. But yes,
okay,
they're
great. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? All right, we need a motion to accept the first quarter 2022 financial results and quarterly update.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Did that cover the income tax as well?
It does. I can actually add a little bit.
Okay, please do.
If you don't mind. So as discussed, income tax revenues for the quarter as a whole are up compared to the same period in 2021. Withholding and business net profits are up, while revenue from individuals is slightly down. This is due to a few of our larger filers that made back tax payments last year, which inflated the first quarter of 2021. And just to echo what Mr. Kennedy said earlier, I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Dawn Everett in our office for her years of service. Dawn's been a great help with these reports that she puts together and the analysis of going through information of the trends of why things are up and down. So she'll be retiring at the end of June. And again, as Mr. Kennedy said, she will be dearly missed. And she was very helpful for me when I started this position back in 2020, just to be a friendly face to help things go by a little bit easier. So thank her.
All right. Any questions, comments on that report? Thank you, Mr. Medler. There are various committee minutes and reports. Does anybody have any comments on those? All right, under City Council reports, I have upcoming events. Saturday, April 30th, as Liz mentioned, the Tree and Environment Committee will host their annual litter pickup from 9 to noon. Meet at the Little Miami Conservancy. It's also National Drug Take Back Day, 10 to 2 at the Safety Center on Lebanon Road. Tuesday, May 3rd, is the season opening for the Loveland Farmers Market. It's 3 to 6 at the Linda J. Cox Trailside parking area. Saturday, May 7th, from 10 to noon at Kiwanis Park, way in the back by J.T. Stotman Ballfield, will be our dog park grand opening. That is followed by the Ramsey Paxton Cemetery dedication in the White Pillar subdivision. There's a 12:45 procession from the clubhouse at White Pillars to the cemetery, and the actual dedication begins at 1, I believe. All right, does anyone else have anything else to add? Yes, Mr. Bateman?
I just would mention I took advantage of the electronics recycling drive event held by Loveland Sustainability Council over the weekend. And I think, I know we mentioned the Take Back Drug Day, and there's the big joint recycling event that we do every year. And I it's one of those things that's just a great service that our community provides the residents. And every time I do that, I always take a moment to thank the volunteers. And I think it just shows the goodwill and the sort of willingness to help each other do the right thing that exists in this community. So I appreciated that and look forward to events like that in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Would someone care to make a motion for executive session?
I move for executive session under Ohio Revised Code Section 121.G1 to consider the discipline of a public official, and under 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property, and finally under 121.22 G3 to conference with counsel regarding pending litigation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mike's roll.
All right. It is 9:02. We're back on the record, if you will. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.